So you want to be big, but you want to know how to fight too. But how the fuck do you do both with only 7 days in the week? Do we train twice a day? Do we lose gains? Do the muscles slow us down? All of the above will be discussed, so lock in and pay attention. It's fucking cringe. So the first thing you need to understand is, what are your goals? Like, what are you actually trying to do? Are you trying to be a fighter? Are you trying to compete professionally? You're just going to go to the amateur level? Do you want to just have some skills on the side? Do you want to be as big as possible but be able to punch someone? Knowing what your goals are is going to be good, because then you know the direction you actually need to head down, and it's going to help you pick a program that's actually suited for you. So once you've got that figured out, how much do you actually need to train in the gym or in the fight gym to get good at either one? So here's the thing. With the gym, it's not as skill-based as fight training. So going to the gym 7 days a week compared to going to the gym 3 days a week won't make much difference. However, fight training for 7 days a week compared to 3 days a week will make a big impact. So if you go by that term, it takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. Training once a week for 1 hour will take 191 years. That's a lot of years. But if you train 5 times a week for an hour each session, that's only 38 years. So that's the difference between going to the gym and building muscle and doing a skill-based sport or combat sport like boxing or MMA or something like that. And most people know with the gym, your progress tapers off after about 3 to 4 years of training. Obviously, you can still make gains after that point, but it does taper off to a point, okay? You get those newbie gains, you get big really quickly, and then it's harder to put in progress after that. Boxing isn't quite the same, or any combat sports aren't the same. That's why you have these professionals who have been training since they were fucking 4 years old, and they're still getting way better every single year. And then for gym, the graph looks logarithmic, okay? I'd say gym probably tapers off more after even just 1 year. Like, you're gonna make probably like 50% of your lifetime gains in that first year. So it might actually be a good idea to just get the foundation right first. Like, just hit the gym as much as you can for that first year, get all those like newbie gains, and then you can start adding things like fight training, stuff like that. Like, personally, I'm so glad that I was lifting weights for those first almost 3 years before I started fight training, because it would have been much harder to make those gains if I was trying to do both. And it's pretty hard to lose gains. Like, you can't really lose gains unless you have a massive injury and you stop training completely. Once you got that base physique, you can't really lose it. It's very easy to maintain a physique, and also if you do happen to lose some muscle mass, you get injured or the fight training takes over, the muscle memory is still there. So if you get back into it later, it like reloads the progress. Like, it's like an autosave. Bro said autosave. So, can you do traditional bodybuilder training and also fight training? You can do it. I mean, that is exactly what we're doing. But I feel like if you want to go to like the amateur level, the professional level, you actually want to compete, you're dragging yourself down a little bit by doing that. But then again, even just doing non-specific fight training, like hypertrophy type training, will still get you that strength advantage in the fight training. Like, there are certain exercises that do translate to punching power, kicking power, things like wrestling. Actually, wrestling is very strength orientated. Like, just being a big fucking cunt. Yeah, wrestlers literally look like bodybuilders. So then some of the actual problems with hypertrophy training and trying to fight at the same time is the muscles that you build aren't fight specific. So the goal of bodybuilder training is just trying to build every muscle up to be the biggest possible size. No. But not all of those muscles you actually use for fighting. Like, for instance, building the biggest biceps in the world is literally only going to hold you back in boxing. If you've ever seen bodybuilders try to throw a jab, it's like they're punching underwater. It's because they've got these heavy arms with no real purpose. When you've got someone like Alex Pereira who uses only his leverage to have one of the hardest punches in the entire world. Also, recovery can be an issue if you're doing intensive hypertrophy focused training on top of fight training. You might run into some recovery issues there. You might need to have lots of rest days. Also, when you're trying to put on as much size as possible in terms of your muscles, that is just unnecessary weight, which puts you into a higher weight class. Say, for instance, you could have been a lightweight, but because of all that extra muscle that you have that isn't fight specific, you're now a middleweight. You're now fighting John Jones. You're fucked now, man. Oh, hell no! What have you done? What are you getting yourself into? You've just locked yourself in a cage with John Jones because you wanted more muscles. Good one. Also, when you have more muscles, that requires more oxygen. So it's going to be harder to keep the cardio up with bigger muscles, and you're not going to have as much muscular endurance. But all of these things aren't that much of an issue if you just do it naturally. Like, if you're training naturally, you're never going to really get too big. Unless you're Nelson Hart. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like there's UFC fighters that are on gear, obviously. Like you've got like the Alistair Overeems, you've got the Brock Lesnar's. Like they're clearly on gear and have bodybuilder levels of muscle.
Yoel Romero.
You won't see boxers with that level of muscle. That comes in handy when wrestling is involved. Depends on your genetics, obviously. Me personally, I could hypertrophy train for 20 years. I won't be too big for boxing.
However, if you do want to go to the gym as a priority and incorporate hypertrophy training into your life, and you want to do fighting as a hobby, these are the things that might hold you back from building a good physique. Number one is there's simply just less days to train, okay? You can still run a 3-day split. Obviously, it's going to be more beneficial to have a 6-day split. You're in the gym more, you're going to build more muscle. So if that's something you're willing to sacrifice, boxing may be a hobby that's worth looking into, or combat sports.
Or definitely burning more calories as well can interfere, especially if you're trying to bulk up. Trying to bulk, doing all the cardio in terms of fight training, it just counteracts.
And combat sports is a different kind of cardio as well. It's not just like running or sprinting.
Zone 5 cardio at some points, yeah.
So next we have recovery. One of the biggest issues I've ran into in my joints, there's a lot of injuries that I've encountered with my wrists, shoulders. These will all build over time and the injuries will occur less, but you will still get them, okay? Because you are literally training every fucking possible fiber in your body. Your nervous system, it just looks like a wreck if you're in there all the time.
Whereas if you're trying to do both, you need to make sure the sleep and the rest are dialed in.
Most important.
You really do need one rest day a week, and you want to be sleeping 9 hours minimum.
I honestly feel like my weekends, I'm just like fucking, I could just go hibernation mode.
Also, long forms of cardio can be catabolic, which is the opposite of anabolic, right? It can reduce muscle mass. I mean, think about it, your body is just an adaptation machine. So you just look at marathon runners, their bodies have adapted to run long distances. They've just become skinny and small. So if you're doing lots and lots of cardio to train for 12 rounds of boxing, for say, your body's going to adapt to that. It's going to want to be smaller. You just got to be careful there. Try not to do too much cardio. And then there's also the aspect of there is just more to think about. I mean, you only have certain brain points for the day. Trying to think about progressively overloading, tracking your lifts, but then also remembering all the drills that your coach taught you in fight training. Also trying to remember to do your skipping for the day, your footwork. There is a lot to think about if you're trying to do all of it.
That's legitimately why I believe in the Spartan Society so much, because it's literally all of that stuff combined into one. We've got so many people in this world who want to have this hybrid athlete lifestyle. You know, they want to get their health in check. They want to be able to fight. They want to build a good physique. They want to be good in all aspects, but they're going from this source to this source, to Instagram, to TikTok, to here, to try to find their information, and their brain just goes in overload and then nothing happens.
Yeah, see, personally, I used to have a bunch of screenshots from like TikTok, and I had like shit written down in my notes, and it was a mess. And then when I was actually creating the Spartan protocol, I ended up just using that. So now I just have that saved on my phone. So I actually done myself wonders there. Alright, so it sounds like we've been shit talking the whole thing, like how fight training is bad for hypertrophy and how hypertrophy is bad for fight training. But what are the benefits of doing both? Why do both? I mean, I do both.
I do both.
Why should you do both?
You should do both.
Number one, Tyrone won't fuck your girl.
That's crazy. Wild. That's crazy. Wild for that one. Who made this script? So essentially, bodybuilders want the illusion of being tough, okay? That is pretty much how it goes. You go from a boxing gym into a free weights gym and it's just a joke. You know, it's like, really, when you look at bodybuilding for what it is it's the appearance of being as dangerous as possible, but the thing is, you are actually not dangerous at all, okay? This has been experimented with multiple influencers getting exposed for this.
You get the point. You want to know how to fight, or Tyrone will fuck your girl.
And if you can be big and also know how to fight, you've got the best of both worlds.
You are Tyrone at that.
And you are Tyrone.
You will be way more athletic, so you'll be big and athletic, which is hard to come by. You'll just generally be more mobile. You won't be as stiff like a bodybuilder. Health and longevity is massive. This is due to the cardio. The most potent way to increase your lifespan, and this has been shown in so many studies, is to increase your VO2 max, which is just increasing your levels of cardio. So if you want to live longer, do more cardio. And the best way to do that is by fight training. I mean, why would you do cardio if you're not fight training? Like, kill two birds with one stone there, boys.
There's a lot of things that improved in my skin quality, my sleep quality, general life quality after doing boxing. I think I lived two different realities, okay, in my lifetime. It was before boxing and after boxing.
It's easier to stay lean if you're doing both. You will have no problems cutting weight if you're doing all the cardio for boxing. You're burning all those calories.
Next, we have confidence. The confidence that boxing gives you is legitimate confidence. It's not fake macho man confidence walking around the gym thinking you're the shit. It gives you an internal confidence that cannot really be swayed. So your entire demeanor changes when you know you can knock someone out. I know that sounds a bit superficial and a little bit egotistical, but it really is basic psychology. when you know you could literally put someone down if need be, like if you were being threatened in a situation or whatever.
And you don't even need to be the best in the world. I mean, me personally, like in the boxing gym comparison, I get smoked in the boxing gym, but I know that like you can see when the beginners first come in, it's like, holy shit, there's levels to this. Any random person is not an issue for you. Even with 6 months, 1 year training, boys, you're just miles ahead of like the random person. Okay, so now how to actually balance it, right? I've got you convinced. How do you balance it? So there are 4 main ways to structure your week, I think. So the first one will be being as big as possible with just some fighting skills. So this would be 6-day push-pull lower split with 1 day for fighting. So that's once a week going to the fight gym, 6 days a week in the weightlifting gym. Then you've got a more balanced one, which is 4 days lifting and 3 days fighting. Or you could even overlap one of the fight days onto one of the lifting days. This would be 4-day push-pull upper lower. And then on that lower day, you could also do fighting. So that means you're training 8 days a week, okay? But that's for a more balanced approach. Then you've got fighting priority, which would be 3 days full body and then 4 days in the fight gym. And then if you want to do 100% fight training, you want to be the best fighter you possibly can, I'd say you'd want to do 5 days in the fight gym and then 2 days doing fight specific training, aka like strength and conditioning, plyometrics, high intensity interval training. I just dropped the module on that inside the Spartan Society. That's free, by the way, boys. So what are some exercises that you can do to assist you with fighting rather than drag you back in terms of like the hypertrophy training? So you've got high intensity interval training, things like sprints, burpees, jump ropes, even just bag work. This is all going to help with the specific cardio that you need in the ring. Then you've got mobility drills, stability exercises, and stretches. And then you've got plyometrics, which is going to help with your power and your intensity. So you've got things like box jumps, plyo push-ups, jump squats, medicine ball slams, lateral bounds. And then in terms of the strength and conditioning, it's pretty much the same as the gym, but I'd be focusing more on compound lifts, functional movements. And when you're actually performing the reps, I'd be doing them focusing more on your speed rather than like the slow contractions like you would be doing with hypertrophy training.
Okay, so then we move on to rest and recovery, which is going to be very similar to hypertrophy training, but you do want to be getting more rest and recovery in general. This includes the entire sauna and ice bath treatment if you have the time for it. 8 to 9 hours sleep, absolute minimum.
I'd say 9 minimum. If you're training every day, yeah.
And if you do feel like you need it, 1 complete entire rest day. This means no boxing. This means no MMA, no jiu-jitsu.
So yeah, boys, if you really want to fight train, don't be scared to drop the volume in the gym. Matter of fact, it's only going to really help you out because you're going to be recovering more. A lot of people are chronically overtrained, and that's actually just because of an addiction to the gym. I mean, that was my problem. I didn't want to not hit the gym. Like,
that's another thing as well, is there's so many, they call them gym cell bodybuilders. There's so many of those these days. I don't think gym is particularly good for your mental health. However, I think boxing is actually very, very good for mental fortitude.
Yeah, because what you're doing is the only goal of bodybuilder training is to just look as good as you can. And the problem is all the influencers are on steroids and have genetics that you don't have. So you're just chasing something that you're never going to achieve, which is just terrible for your mental health. And you're just constantly looking in the mirror and being like, I don't look how like I want to look.
It becomes less about the external and more about the internal. How good can you get? How disciplined can you get? How far can you advance in your consistency rather than just trying to achieve a impossible physique. Also, boxing is fair game. There is really no good boxing genetics. There is like better than others, but it is pretty much fair game for everyone that starts. You can get as good as your mind takes you, really.
Also, not to mention, it sounds pretty superficial, but people respect people who train for fighting more than just lifting weights.
With that being said, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Smash the like if you did, hit the subscribe button, and join the Spartan Society, the all-in-one program that you need to do both.
We are also offering one-on-one coaching now, boys. The link is the first link in the description. If you know what you need to know to get in the best shape in your life, build some discipline, but you lack the implementation, you don't have the accountability, that's what we're here for, boys. So
book a call, we'll talk to you and we'll sort it out.
Yeah, we'll get you to pull your fucking head in, mate.
Take it easy, boys.